My name is Naomi Littlefield, and I'm 44 years old. If you've ever had a last name, people pause before saying, you learn to live in two halves, the part that smiles and spells it out, and the part that wonders why someone you love once wanted to share it. At the annual gala, light shimmered across crystal and champagne like liquid glass, the kind of evening built for ambition, not affection. Ethan stood a few steps ahead of me, laughing too easily, basking in compliments from his new boss, Madeline, the same Madeline who used to be his girlfriend. Madeline lifted her glass, voice smooth as a sales pitch. To reinvention, she said brightly. Names should feel light, easy to pronounce, easy to remember. Her smile turned to Ethan. Don't you agree, Mr. What is it again? Littlefield, I answered for him, smiling as if the syllables didn't sting. Madeline laughed politely. Right, reinvention, Ethan. It's power. And just like that, Ethan laughed too. You know, my old last name, Morrison, was easier. Maybe I should have kept it. It wasn't a joke. It was a spark testing if it could catch fire. In the car afterward, the city lights painted silver streaks across his face. He was quiet for most of the drive, then finally said, Madeline has a point. About what? I asked, though I already knew. About names. It's not personal, Naomi. It's branding. Littlefield sounds rural. Morrison is cleaner, professional. My lips curved into a practiced smile. Then do what feels right. He turned to me, eyes narrowed. You mean that? You're an adult, Ethan. If you don't want my name, don't keep it. He seemed almost disappointed that I didn't fight for it. The next morning, I saw his post on social media before I saw him, reclaiming my identity, Morrison again, because names should reflect who we are. Madeline commented first. Proud of you. Hearts, applause emojis, fire symbols. A month later, his legal paperwork arrived. He hosted a freedom party. The cake read, Free at last. I tasted it. Vanilla, faintly bitter. What Ethan didn't consider, in his rush to shed my embarrassing name, was where that name lived. Everywhere. 12 years together. Utilities, mortgage, credit cards, insurance, memberships, all listed under Mr. and Mrs. Littlefield. But on nearly every account, I was the primary. He was secondary, an authorized user. The system worked because we did, until he erased himself from it. So that night, after he fell asleep, I opened my laptop and did what any practical woman would do. I respected his choice. First, the credit cards. Hello, I told the customer service rep. I need to remove an authorized user, Ethan Littlefield. May I ask why? That person doesn't legally exist anymore. A short pause. Do you want to add someone new? No, there's no one to add. Ethan Morrison was never on this account. Click. Confirmed. Then the airline miles card, the cashback card, the store cards, streaming services, Costco, the gym, even roadside assistance. All of them. Littlefield family plan. And Ethan Morrison wasn't family. Not anymore. Not on paper. The bank manager hesitated when I stopped by in person. Ma'am, your partner could just update his name. That would require him still being on the accounts, I replied gently. He's not. The only person listed is Ethan Littlefield, and that man doesn't exist. Ma'am, this seems harsh. It's not harsh, I said. It's administrative accuracy. I left the mortgage alone. I'm not spiteful, just thorough. Boundaries, not vengeance. 3 quiet days passed. Then, on Friday morning, my phone buzzed. Ethan. My card got declined at Starbucks. WTF? Me. Which one? Ethan. The green one, me. That belongs to Ethan Littlefield. You're Ethan Morrison now. 5 minutes of silence, then my phone flooded with texts. Ethan, what did you do? Ethan, this is abuse. Ethan, you can't do this. Me. You were Mr. Littlefield. You chose not to be. I just updated the records accordingly. He called 17 times. I didn't answer. When I came home, he was surrounded by papers, laptop open, phone pressed to his ear. No, listen, he said to some exhausted bank employee. I was Ethan Littlefield, but I legally changed it. It's still me. A pause. What do you mean I need to reapply? He slammed the phone down, glare sharp as broken glass. Fix this. Fix what? You removed me from everything. I removed Ethan Littlefield. He doesn't exist, remember? You buried him with a hashtag. This is about your ego, he snapped. You're punishing me because I didn't keep your ridiculous name. This is about paperwork, I said evenly. Every account we had was for Mr. and Mrs. Littlefield. You decided you're not him. It's just a name! Exactly, I said. Just a name. So why did you need to change it? He threw a statement at me. It fluttered to the floor. I can't access our savings. Our savings belong to Mr. and Mrs. Littlefield. You're not that anymore. I'm the same person. Not legally. You filed the papers yourself. He called his sister, Natalie, on speaker. Naomi's frozen me out because I changed my name. Natalie sighed. You threw a party for that, Ethan. Didn't you think this through? He hesitated. It felt empowering. Until it didn't, she muttered. Whose name are the accounts under? He didn't answer. Natalie gave a low laugh. Then congratulations, you played yourself. He hung up. That night he brought flowers. Lilies. Too strong. Too white. Naomi, he said softly, I didn't mean to hurt you. You didn't hurt me. You made a choice. Then add me back. Add Ethan Morrison to the accounts. Of course, I said. Fill out the applications. If you qualify, I'll add you. If I qualify? His laugh was sharp. I'm your boyfriend. New users have to qualify. He looked at the lilies as if they'd betrayed him too, then shoved them into the trash. Later that night, I heard his mother's voice through the door. Eleanor Morrison, dramatic as ever. You did what? You gave up her name and expected to keep her accounts? Are you out of your mind? Mom, it's 2025. Couples don't need the same last name. No, she said, but if your access depends on that name, maybe you should have read the fine print before you celebrated. The call ended in static and pride. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling that eerie calm before everything collapses. Because when a man decides a name is too heavy, he forgets who carried it first. And when he puts it down, sometimes it's gone for good. If you've ever built a life with someone, you know it's not the big cracks that scare you first. It's the small sounds, the card decline, the login error, the polite, your transaction could not be processed. By Monday morning, those sounds followed Ethan everywhere. At 8:42 a.m., another text appeared. Ethan, my Amazon card isn't working either. Me, that belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Littlefield. Ethan, Naomi, stop being clever. Me, I'm being precise. That precision was a language he'd never learned. By lunchtime, the calls started again. Starbucks, Target, the gym. All the places he'd taken for granted because love, apparently, came with automatic renewal. That afternoon, he posted something on social media. Men should have the right to their own identity without being financially punished. His friends rallied in the comments. Digital bravado from people who never read legal fine print. The real problem wasn't the money, it was the embarrassment. He texted me again that evening. Ethan, my card was declined at the grocery store. I had to put food back. People saw. I stared at the screen for a long time. The message wasn't a question. It was a bruise looking for a bandage. Me, did you try your Morrison card? Ethan, I don't have one. Everything was tied to you. Me, then you should start building. Ethan, Naomi, I can't even apply. My credit history is gone. Me, was that name really so embarrassing then? He didn't reply. The next day, he showed up at my office. His suit was wrinkled, his confidence cracked. You can't do this, he hissed under his breath. People are saying this is abuse. Who's saying that? I asked quietly. Madeline, he admitted. Of course she was. The woman who'd toasted his reinvention now claimed I was weaponizing paperwork. Madeline isn't part of our marriage, I said. She's my boss, he shot back. And I'm your wife. That used to mean something. He had no answer, just a jawline locked like a safe. That evening, I came home to find him pacing the living room, talking on speaker with his cousin, Anthony, a real estate lawyer pretending to know family law. Anthony's voice boomed through the apartment. Naomi, what you're doing could be considered financial abuse. These are marital assets. You can't just... I didn't touch any marital assets, I said calmly. I removed an unauthorized user, one who no longer exists under the name listed. That's semantics, Anthony argued. That's law, I replied. He went silent for a beat. You can't possibly think this'll hold up in court. What won't? My right to manage my own accounts? Ethan can open his own, as Ethan Morrison. He can't get approved. His credit's gone. That's not my fault, I said. That's the consequence of erasing the name tied to his financial record. Anthony hung up. Ethan's shoulders sagged, as if the reality was finally heavier than his pride. By Wednesday, the story started spreading. Madeline's friend Margaret, who worked at our bank, couldn't resist gossip. She posted on social media before deleting it an hour later. When you change your name to be empowered, but cry at the bank because no one recognizes you. 47 reactions, screenshots shared like wildfire. By the next morning, people were whispering, "Did you hear about Ethan? The name change fiasco?" At 6 p.m., he walked in carrying lilies again, the same flowers he'd thrown away. "Naomi," he said, voice shaky. "Please, just help me fix this. Just help me fix—" "I'm not the one who broke it," I said. "I just wanted my own name back." "And you got it," I said softly. "Names come with consequences. Can't you just add me again?" "Of course," I said. "Fill out the forms. If you qualify, I'll add you." He flinched like I'd slapped him. "If I qualify, I'm your husband." "No," I said. "You're Ethan Morrison. My husband was Ethan Littlefield. You killed him with a party and a hashtag." He sank onto the couch, running his hands over his face. "You're enjoying this." I didn't answer. There's no point telling someone you're not enjoying justice. That night, I overheard him on the phone with his mother again. "You did what?" Eleanor's voice cracked through the air. "You gave up her name and expected her accounts? Are you kidding me?" "Mom, it's 2025, Ethan shouted. "Couples don't need matching names." "No," she said, "but they need matching sense." He hung up before she could finish. I found him in the kitchen afterward, staring at the counter like it held answers. "I didn't think it would go this far," he whispered. "Neither did I said, "but here we are." He looked up at me, eyes red, voice cracking. "I just wanted to be proud of my name again." "Then you should be," I said. "Just don't expect me to pay for it." He left the room without a word. Outside, rain started to fall, tapping against the window like the universe's slow applause. Somewhere between guilt and satisfaction, I realized something ugly. I hadn't wanted to ruin him, just to remind him of weight. Because love, like credit, is built on history. And once you erase it, no bank and no heart recognizes you anymore. There's a point in every argument when pride stops looking like strength and starts looking like desperation. For Ethan, that point arrived the following Thursday, when he showed up at our door with reinforcements. 3 of them. His sister Natalie, always the self-appointed voice of reason. His best friend Jordan, who never met a conflict he couldn't turn into a group chat. And Madeline, his ex, his boss, the woman who'd planted this rebranding idea in his head in the first place. They were already seated in my living room when I got home from work, coffee cups lined up like soldiers. Ethan stood near the window, jaw set, pretending this was an intervention, not an ambush. "Naomi," Madeline began, crossing one leg over the other, voice all sympathy and stage control. "We just want to talk." I set down my bag. "Then talk." Natalie jumped in before Madeline could dramatize it. "Ethan told us you froze him out of everything. Credit cards, bank accounts, even Netflix, that's financial abuse." I smiled, not kindly. "Is that what he said?" "It's what happened," Madeline said. "You humiliated him." "Interesting," I replied, because I recall him throwing a party to announce his new identity. Seems to me he humiliated himself. Jordan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Naomi, this isn't about who's right. It's about compassion. He's struggling." "Compassion," I repeated slowly. "Would have been nice when he was laughing with his ex about how my name didn't fit his image." Madeline's lips twitched. "You're still hung up on that?" "Not at all," I said. "I just finally believe him." The silence that followed was thick enough to choke on. Ethan finally spoke, voice trembling. "You're enjoying this." "No," I said quietly, "but I am learning from it." Madeline leaned forward, elbows on knees, her perfume sharp as accusation. "Do you really think this makes you look strong? You're proving every stereotype about bitter women right now." I laughed, soft and dangerous. "And you're proving every stereotype about manipulative ex-girlfriends who call it empowerment." Natalie shot up from the couch. "Okay, stop. This is going nowhere." She turned to me. "Naomi, you can fix this. Just add him back." "I can't," I said simply. "Ethan Littlefield doesn't exist in the system anymore. If he wants access, he can apply under Morrison." Jordan muttered under his breath, "Man, she's serious." Ethan glared. "This is insane." "What's insane," I said, "is that you thought you could rewrite your identity and still keep the privileges of the one you buried." For a moment, even Madeline didn't have a comeback. Then Ethan's phone buzzed, a notification ping that cut through the air. I caught a glimpse of his screen before he flipped it, a headline from our community's social group. "The name change meltdown, when empowerment meets bad credit." Someone had leaked Margaret's earlier post. The screenshot had gone viral locally. Ethan's face drained of color. "Oh my God." "Congratulations," I said softly. "You've gone public." Madeline stood up, grabbing her purse. "We're done here." "Agreed," I said. "I'll walk you out." At the door, she leaned closer. You think you've won? This makes you look petty. Everyone's talking. Good, I whispered. Let them learn what consequences look like. When they left, Ethan didn't follow them. He stayed, pacing, fingers raking through his hair. Naomi, he said finally, you've turned into someone else. I met his gaze. No, you just never met this version of me because she only appears when someone tries to erase her. He didn't respond. Instead, he slammed the bedroom door behind him, the sound like punctuation on the sentence we were both too tired to finish. By Friday morning, his lawyer cousin made good on the earlier threat, an emergency motion filed in family court claiming financial control and deprivation. I didn't even flinch. I'd already contacted my own attorney, a quiet woman named Clara Nguyen, who smiled like she'd seen this play out 100 times. When we walked into court, Ethan looked smaller somehow. Madeline wasn't there. HR had opened an internal inquiry into her personal involvement with employees. Karma had better timing than I ever did. The judge skimmed the file, adjusting her glasses. So, Mr. Morrison, she said, voice cool and crisp, you're claiming financial abuse? Ethan nodded. And yet, she continued, it appears you are the one who initiated the legal name change, thereby nullifying prior joint account authorizations. Is that correct? He hesitated. Technically, yes. Then I fail to see how this qualifies as abuse. It's a paperwork issue, not a criminal one. Madeline's absence suddenly felt like the smartest decision she'd ever made. The judge leaned back. Mr. Morrison, you are welcome to reapply to any accounts under your new legal name. If your credit history no longer qualifies you, that's a separate matter. I could feel his shame from across the courtroom. A silent collapse. After the hearing, he didn't speak to me. Not in the car, not at home. But I heard him late that night, whispering to himself as he scrolled through his laptop. Denied, denied, denied. Even the credit unions turned him away. At one point he muttered, they all think I'm new. And I thought, maybe that's what you wanted. To start over. You just never expected to start at zero. A week later, I caught him at the kitchen table surrounded by paperwork, the smell of instant coffee and defeat filling the air. He didn't look up. I got a secured card, he said quietly. $500 limit. Congratulations, I said. He exhaled. My mom helped with the deposit. Good for her. He looked at me for a long time. Naomi, I think I really messed up. Maybe, I said. Or maybe you just finally learned what your name costs. Outside, the world kept moving. But inside that small, paper-covered kitchen, something in him finally stopped. When a person rebuilds from nothing, the silence is deafening. For Ethan, silence became his new roommate, the kind that sits beside you while you calculate your mistakes. A month passed after the court hearing. The motion was denied. The judge had been mercilessly clear. Mr. Morrison, you created your own problem. You wanted a new name. You got a new identity. The law respects your choice. Now you must live within it. Even now I can still hear her gavel hitting the bench, the sound of consequence in hardwood. Ethan didn't come home for 2 days after that. When he finally did, he carried a grocery bag with only essentials: instant noodles, canned soup, black coffee. He'd sold his smartwatch and designer sneakers online to cover rent. He didn't tell me that. I saw the listings myself. At work, things began to unravel. HR had quietly investigated the inappropriate relationship between him and Madeline, a professional minefield that exploded exactly the way I suspected it would. One morning, he came home earlier than usual, jacket over his shoulder, face pale. They fired me, he said flatly. I didn't pretend to be surprised. Because of her? He nodded. Madeline took a temporary leave for personal reasons. HR said my involvement created liability. They called it a pattern of compromised boundaries. His voice cracked on the word boundaries. The irony didn't miss me. He sat at the table, rubbing his temples. I didn't cheat, Naomi, I swear. I believe you, I said softly, but you let someone else write your narrative. Again. He looked up then, eyes rimmed red. Why are you being kind now? Because punishment isn't the goal, I said. Clarity is. He dropped his head into his hands. I can't even rent a car. They said I don't have enough credit history under my name. My name. There it was, the same word that had started it all. He stared at the wall for a long time before whispering, You know what's funny? Madeline stopped returning my calls. I didn't say I told you so. Sometimes silence is sharper. That night, he tried to cook. The pot boiled over. I stood beside him, handing him a towel while he muttered, I'm a grown man who can't even boil water without screwing up. You're learning, I said. Learning what? He snapped. How to live without shortcuts. He looked at me like he didn't know whether to thank me or hate me. Weeks passed. His phone stopped buzzing. The world had moved on. He applied for new credit cards, new accounts, a new apartment, all under Ethan Morrison. Most responses were polite rejections. He sold his luxury watch next. Then the bike he swore was his escape. I watched quietly as pride stripped itself down to humility. One night, he came home late, holding a brown envelope. "I got approved," he said. "For what?" "A secured card. 500 limit. The bank said if I keep it clean for 6 months, I can apply for a standard one." I smiled faintly. "Congratulations." He let out a humorless laugh. "You said that last time." I meant it last time, too. We stood there in silence, both of us exhausted by victory and defeat in equal measure. He finally sat down. "Naomi, do you ever wish I'd just kept your name?" I thought about it for a moment. "No," I said, "but I wish you'd respected what it meant." He swallowed hard. "I thought I was being independent. Turns out I was just careless." "It's easy to confuse the two," I said. His hands were trembling. "I wanted people to respect me, not think I was just your shadow." "And now?" I asked. "Now I'd be grateful to stand next to you again." I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I poured him coffee, the same way I used to when things were simple. He looked up, searching for permission in my silence. "You think there's a way back from this?" "There's always a way back," I said, "but not to the same place." That weekend, he asked if I'd go with him to see his parents. His mother, Eleanor, had been following everything through whispers and half-truths. When we arrived, she hugged me first, something she hadn't done in years. "Naomi, my son's a fool," she said without preamble, "but thank you for teaching him what life couldn't." Ethan winced. "Mom, please." She waved him off. "I raised you better. You thought pride was progress. Turns out it's just a fancy word for foolishness." His father joined us at the table, old-fashioned, but gentle. "You know, son, our name was never about power. It was about accountability. Naomi carries hers well. You should have learned that." For once, Ethan didn't argue. He just nodded, quiet as a confession. Driving home, he turned to me and said, "I don't deserve another chance." "No," I said, "but you might earn one." He smiled sadly. "You really are something else, Naomi Littlefield." "Maybe," I said, "or maybe I just finally became what you thought I wasn't." He laughed softly, the first real laugh I'd heard in months. And somewhere between regret and reconciliation, I realized something important. He wasn't the same man anymore, but neither was I. By the time autumn arrived, the air between us had changed. It wasn't cold anymore, just honest. Ethan had found a job at a small logistics firm downtown. Modest pay, longer hours, no prestige, but it was his. He'd stopped chasing applause and started chasing stability. Every morning, he brewed his own coffee now. No more Starbucks, no more loyalty cards, just quiet, measured mornings. I'd been watching him learn, slowly, painfully, to stand on his own name. One evening, he came home later than usual. He looked tired, but different, grounded, maybe even humble. He placed a white envelope on the counter. "It's from the bank," he said. Inside was a new debit card. The name read Ethan Littlefield Morrison. He looked up at me, waiting for my reaction. I thought maybe it could be both of us. For a moment, I didn't say anything. I traced the letters with my thumb. The hyphen between them wasn't just punctuation. It was a bridge built over months of silence, pride, and paperwork. "Why the hyphen?" I finally asked. He smiled faintly. "Because I don't want to erase what taught me who I am. I just want to carry it with me, properly, this time." I exhaled slowly. "You're asking me to start over?" "I'm asking to rebuild, on equal ground." I gestured to the chair across from me. "Sit down, Ethan." He did. I pulled a notebook toward us. Not the romantic kind, the practical one where I tracked bills, schedules, and hard truths. "If we do this," I began, "it's going to be with conditions." He nodded immediately. "Anything." "First," I said, "you keep the hyphen for 5 years. No more name experiments. No more reinventions for social media approval." "Done." "Second, you contribute equally to everything. Rent, bills, groceries, no exceptions." "Agreed." "Third," I said, locking eyes with him, "you take a financial literacy class, twice a month. I don't care if it's online or in person, but you learn how money works beyond pride." He nodded again. No argument this time. "And last," I said quietly, "no more outside voices in our marriage. Not Madeline, not anyone. You listen to me or to yourself, no one else." He hesitated for the first time, then nodded slowly. "I understand." I closed the notebook. "Then that's it." He reached across the table, hands trembling slightly. Naomi, Don't thank me yet, I said. Earn it. He smiled, the kind of smile that wasn't for show this time. I will. In the months that followed, he did exactly that. He paid bills on time. He stopped asking for access and started offering partnership. The word ours began to sound safe again, not conditional. Madeline, predictably, never resurfaced. Last I heard, she'd moved to another city to rebrand herself again. Natalie sent me a message one evening. Short, sincere. You were right. He needed to fall before he could stand. Thank you for not walking away. I didn't reply. Some acknowledgments don't need words. A year later, on our anniversary, Ethan handed me a card. Simple, handwritten, no social media flair. It read, To Naomi Littlefield Morrison, thank you for teaching me that love without respect isn't partnership, and that a name isn't ownership, it's accountability. Inside was a small box. Not jewelry, not perfume, just a silver keychain engraved with a single line. Built on both names. For the first time in a long time, I smiled without calculation. Because forgiveness, I'd learned, isn't weakness, it's structure. It's setting the foundation again, brick by honest brick, even if the person helping you build it once tore the house down. Sometimes, when I look at our mail now, I see both names, Littlefield Morrison, side by side. And I realize it's not about who belonged to whom. It's about who chose to rebuild when they could have walked away. Because a name isn't just letters. It's history, it's effort, it's partnership, and it's proof that redemption, when earned, can be spelled in hyphens.